That is the program this hour. It is time for 9 News at 6 Live right now.
Tonight, extreme heat. A big gun from the east brought in to fight a Margaret River fire emergency as Perth swelters through its first 40-degree day in almost a year. Plus, a grieving family's border heartache, unable to bring their son home.
If the borders weren't closed, our son would be alive today.
And tonight, fears grow over a world-first COVID strain discovered down under. A rush to fill up spills into a fuel fight as a passenger pulls a knife in the southern suburbs. Strangers and Star renovators join forces to transform a one-punch victim's home. From Parliament to the pantry, the Premier makes a bizarre mark on a breakfast staple. And Captain Fantastic, Australia dominates day one of the Ashes.
This is 9 News Perth with Michael Thomson.
Good evening. Firefighters are facing a tough battle tonight with a bushfire burning out of control in Margaret River. As we go to air, an emergency warning is in place for the Lewin Naturalist National Park and residents have been warned to evacuate. Today's extreme heat kept crews on high alert as Perth sweltered through its first 40-degree day in almost a year.
The warning signs of an early summer emergency, a bushfire out of control in our southwest.
You can see the smoke plume it's putting up. It's certainly aggressive fire behaviour.
Campers and homes around the Lewin Naturalist National Park evacuated as flames push northeast from Borenup towards the centre of Margaret River, just 15 minutes away.
Difficult terrain, very difficult for suppression because of the karst system, the underground caves.
A giant tanker arriving from New South Wales just this morning, helping take up the fight head on.
The water bomber drops are trying to help limit that fire spread so we can get in and contain it tonight.
In Perth's northeast, residents were on high alert as the lower Chittering blaze threatened to close in on homes. Steep terrain keeping firefighters on their toes, bringing in water bombers to help. The fire contained, but with scorching temperatures across the state, authorities are taking no chances.
We don't put total fire bans on lightly, and particularly in the metropolitan area of Perth, it is quite rare.
By 10 a.m, the mercury in Perth had already reached 32.6, hitting its peak at 40 at 3:45 this afternoon. The hottest temperature, 40.2 degrees, recorded at Jandakot. The extreme heat forcing trains to run 20 kilometres slower on the Fremantle, Armidale and Midland lines, hitting the water, a popular option for those wanting relief after navigating the scorching sand.
This path here is really good to just walk down onto it, but you need your shoes on the sand.
We'll be making sure she's drinking lots of water because she'll be playing in around the hot sand.
Some just happy to soak in the city beach surrounds.
It gets hot after a while, so then I'm going to go and dip in the water. Then I'm going to dry off and I'll carry on doing some work.
Joshua Dorr, 9 News.
Widespread power outages have forced thousands of residents to swelter through the heat without air conditioning for relief. Mayor Edgerton Warburton, it will take hours to fix.
Michael, many homes have been without power for hours and won't see it restored until after midnight. Right now, 10,000 residents are affected across a variety of suburbs, including here in Cottesloe, where temperatures are hovering in the high 30s. Now, Western Power says this isn't related to that extreme heat we saw today, but rather just general issues, some of those caused by wind. Their advice to customers is to monitor the website for any updates. Michael.
Mia, thank you. Let's bring in weather presenter Natalia Cooper now. Natalia, when will we get some relief?
Well, not tonight, Tomo. The temperature will only go as low as 24 degrees. A stubborn high in the Bight and a trough sitting down the coast have been directing the hot northeasterly winds over us. Another hot one is on the way tomorrow, but when the trough moves inland during the day, the sea breeze will cool things down just a bit. We'll finally see some real relief on Friday and the cooler temperatures will stick around for the weekend. I'll have the full forecast a little later in the bulletin. Tomo.
Looking forward to the cool change. Natalia, thank you. WA's hard border policy has left a family heartbroken, unable to fly to Perth to bring their son's body home. Talented rugby player Jordan Grace took his own life in Scarborough 2 days before his 21st birthday, and instead of being able to rush here, his Melbourne parents were locked out.
A promising young rugby star playing under contract in Perth. who stunned his friends and family just 2 days before his 21st birthday.
I get a knock at the door and I saw in the camera that it was police.
Jordan Grace had taken his own life in Scarborough on November 13. His parents were in Melbourne, desperate to see him to learn more. But our hard border would not let them.
So the first thing we wanted to do was just to get over there and see him, be with him. I just wanted to get to him, and it's my baby.
They were told they'd have to quarantine in a Perth hotel for 2 weeks first, and given their grief, they couldn't contemplate a forced lockdown away from their other children in Melbourne.
It's been a tough 3 weeks, you know, and just trying to celebrate, you know, our son.
Look, I learned about that this morning, obviously. Very, very sad situation for that family, and anyone who hears the circumstances would feel deeply for them.
Double vaccinated, the parents believe more should have been done to make their extreme case an exception.
Well, we weren't going there for a holiday. We just wanted to go see our boy, pack up his things and come home and bring him home with us. That was it.
The police did contact the family and try to work through the issues with them. But obviously it was not possible to do that, but obviously everyone is sympathetic to them.
1926 when they finished it.
The Premier was also facing questions about the unvaccinated. Almost 2,000 public servants stalling WA's jab rate and now facing the sack.
There's 2.5% who haven't, and they will have that 2-week period to get themselves vaccinated.
As the rest of WA creeps closer to 80% double jabbed and a date for opening our borders, Queensland has a new threat.
In many ways, the COVID journey is just starting.
Omicron has reached the Sunshine State. 2 cases, both from Africa, but one is a twist on the new variant.
The gentleman the other day has been defined as having Omicron-like, L-I-K-E. That is the new lineage that and the name that will be given to this variant.
Genomic sequencing has also confirmed the Omicron variant has officially made it to Melbourne, a person in hotel quarantine, and there could be more cases in the community. Gary Adshead, 9 News.
And if you or someone you know needs help, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. Passenger has pulled a knife on another customer in the rush for cheap petrol in our southern suburbs. The fuel fight was sparked after one man tried to skip the queue at a busy Kwinana service station.
Blowing up at the Bowser, a race to fill up spills into a knife fight. 11 o'clock yesterday morning at a Kwinana service station. It's not peak hour, but this red car isn't keen to wait. The woman behind the wheel tries to cut in line, but she's cut off by a grey ute.
I was thinking, oh my gosh, what's going on? What's going to happen to this person?
Seconds later, her passenger pulls out a weapon. The confrontation over cheap fuel lasts just minutes, but it's enough to catch the attention of customers and an off-duty staff member.
When she got outside, the kid had actually got back in the car and his girlfriend was speeding off and he was waving the knife at her from the passenger window saying, "What are you looking at, you black?"
The male driver left visibly shaken.
Pulling out a knife over a fuel queue spot, it's just like ridiculous.
The petrol station here on Mandurah Road is constantly busy with more than 2,000 drivers coming through a day, and staff say behaviour is only getting worse. Atlas Fuel has had more than 100 rage-fueled incidents at its 19 stations in just 6 months.
Maybe the fuel prices, maybe it's the after COVID effects. Everyone is so angry these days.
The victim hasn't made a complaint to police, but staff will.
I think people now are just running out of patience in general with anything in life, yeah.
Mia Edgerton-Warburton, 9 News.
Embattled WA politician James Hayward has surprised his fellow MPs with a brief visit to Parliament amid disturbing child sex allegations. The father of 6 appeared for a matter of seconds last night until his attendance was marked. That's all that was needed to secure his taxpayer-funded salary for the next 10 weeks.
He was elected as a National Party MP, so he is a National Party person. So really up to the National Party to explain what happens with Mr Hayward.
James Hayward is due back in court on Monday, charged with sexually abusing an 8-year-old girl. A police car has been sent tumbling after an emergency dash took a dramatic turn in East Perth. The van driver had a green light but appeared oblivious to police coming through the intersection with lights and sirens. The impact flipping the paddy wagon as nearby pedestrians ran out of the way.
Yes, it was pretty frightening. I was staying in the office here and I saw this car, minivan, flying past me, upside down literally, and I was wondering if it's going to hit the office.
Fortunately, the officers were able to free themselves, escaping with only minor injuries. Police say a 38-year-old was driving erratically before he was killed in a horror smash that shut down part of Mitchell Freeway. A 25-year-old woman is tonight clinging to life after the four-wheel drive the pair were in smashed into the back of a truck in Leederville yesterday afternoon. A second passenger is in a stable condition. Beijing has fired back after Australia joined the United States in a diplomatic boycott of the Winter Olympics. It's blamed our nation for the frosty relations between the two countries, adding we weren't even invited.
The Prime Minister in the playground. And while he might have been off target, it was China he had firmly in his sights.
It will come as no surprise that the Australian government will not be sending any official representatives to the forthcoming Winter Games in China.
Australia teaming up with the US in a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Games after more than a year of silent treatment.
We have been raising a number of issues that have not been received well in China.
Chinese state media responded on Twitter, declaring Australia America's #1 lackey, while a government spokesman pointed out one can't decline an invitation without first receiving one.
The government said they don't want to go. Were they actually invited?
Well, it's a little complicated how the invitation works.
Shunned by China, the IOC, even the Australian Olympic Committee didn't bother to extend an invitation to Canberra because they knew the answer.
Australia will send a 40-strong team of athletes and officials to Beijing, and with the opening ceremony just 58 days away, the political blame game is already well and truly underway.
As we all know, the blame for the current predicament of China-Australia relations lies squarely on the Australian side.
I won't be taking a step back here. I'll continue to stand strong.
Two foes and one friend. Russian President Vladimir Putin has been invited and has booked his seat to Beijing. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
A once-in-a-generation overhaul of the financial system is in the works as payments increasingly move online. The Reserve Bank is also exploring whether to back a central digital currency to rein in booming unregulated cryptocurrencies.
Cash is no longer king. 10 years ago, cash was responsible for more than 2/3 of financial transactions. Today, it's less than 1/3. Cash payments have plummeted since 2007 as card transactions soared. There are 55 million non-cash payments made in Australia every day, worth $650 billion. But the regulations governing them were designed in the 1990s. Half of Australians use their phone now as their payment system. So the government is going to retool the financial system to make it fit for the 21st century.
Buy now, pay later, for example, is not a credit product, believe it or not, under the credit laws.
There is currently no regulation over things like Google Pay and Apple Pay.
What those payment networks choose to do with our data or with our money, the government right now doesn't actually have legal control over those things. To some degree, this is actually fixing that, putting them back inside the tent.
The government is also concerned about the rise of cryptocurrencies which exist in the virtual world and bypass the banking system. So the Reserve Bank might set up its own central digital currency.
These so-called stable coins are actually linked to an actual currency rather than a Bitcoin, which is what everyone else is going to pay for it.
And businesses that trade in cryptocurrencies will have to be licensed. Australia makes the rules, not Silicon Valley. So what might an Australian cryptocurrency be called?
So maybe kangaroo coin or echidna coin, I don't know. You have to come up with something. I'm not sure what we do.
That's the least of his worries. Chris Ullman, 9 News.
A fourth man has been charged over a violent night in Northbridge which ended in a deadly knife attack. Aspiring rapper Dao Chol Dao is accused of acting as the getaway driver half an hour before a second stabbing that killed Mana Pan Madding. The 24-year-old was out on bail at the time over an alleged FPOS scam that fleeced $10,000 from Perth businesses. Driver is behind bars tonight, facing 23 charges, accused of leading police on a dangerous chase through Perth's southern suburbs. Officers say the 34-year-old was behind the wheel of a stolen ute without a licence, narrowly missing innocent motorists in the hour-long pursuit yesterday afternoon. Police say he was wanted over a crime spree. Strangers, tradies and stars from the block are transforming Danny Hodgson's house to welcome the soccer player home. The 26-year-old was left fighting for life after a sickening attack, now learning to drink, eat and talk again.
Measuring up for Danny Hodgson's homecoming. A group of tradies making a big difference to the injured soccer star's house in Wanneroo. The generous gesture hitting home for a friend and co-worker, Ben Towers.
It's outstanding. It is. It's just overwhelming.
The 26-year-old is learning to swallow, drink, eat and talk again at Fiona Stanley Hospital's rehab centre after 82 days in ICU, left fighting for life in a one-punch attack.
He is a wonderful human being, and you can see how the community's got around him both here and in England.
Working inside, outside and on the roof, replacing the old hot water system and adding new solar panels, aircon and a smart wiring system. Comfort and convenience is the aim, allowing Danny Hodgson to eventually operate everything from his phone.
You could have already run down to the shops, realised you've left the garage door open and then closed the garage door.
Luke Newen from The Block also lending a helping hand.
They're going through the absolute pits at the moment, and anything that we can do to save them a bit of money, a bit of time and just make everything a little bit easier for them is just it's great.
And strangers have even joined in to make the 26-year-old's life that little bit easier.
My motivation is that I've got 3 sons. So what's happened to Danny, I'd hate for that to happen to my boys.
More than $20,000 of work will go into Danny Hodgson's home, but the new renewable and energy efficient systems will save him thousands every year. A timely gift for a family doing it tough. Ezra Holt, 9 News.
World #1 tennis player Novak Djokovic has been named as an official competitor by Tennis Australia for the 2022 Australian Open. It's despite him not publicly declaring his vaccination status. Tennis Australia has made it clear that just being on the list doesn't guarantee the Joker will play, and that a medical exemption has not, repeat, not been granted. He's been immortalised in tattoos, on clothing and in art. Now, Premier Mark McGowan is the face of a new cereal. That's right, and it appears there's a real appetite for the novelty item, named State Daddy-O's, but you won't find it at the supermarket.
If you've ever wanted to have breakfast with the Premier, now's your chance.
Just bring a bit of joy to people's lives and, yeah, just...
A bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Digital marketer Mark Wong is a cereal fan of the breakfast and saw an opening to ride on Mark McGowan's cult-like status.
I just really love cereal. I knew that State Daddy hype was a thing and I just wanted to combine the two.
The 26-year-old's design, COVID-inspired, featuring a maze to help WA escape the hard border and rejoin the world.
I was tossing up between State Daddy-O's and Nutri-Gowans.
State Daddy-O's the clear winner with his work colleagues. The Premier, who's been immortalised in a tattoo and on clothing, no longer fazed about where his image is popping up next.
Well, it's not the oddest thing that's happened to me in the last 2 years, but it's up there.
Filled with a generic branded coloured cereal, Mark Wong says people aren't after what's inside the box as much as the novelty of what's on it. At $25 a pop, he's sold 30 since last Friday over Facebook Marketplace.
It looked like Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops? Yeah. I don't know if they're sending me a message there. They might be. I'm sure the kids will love that.
And the kids are loving it. The orders are pouring in. Mark Wong says that customers have been telling him they're using it for Secret Santa presents. He's got about 100 on back order and intends to make up to 500 in total of the boxes.
A lot of packing, cutting, increasing, folding and gluing. Yeah, got to get those orders filled. Yeah, if you're watching and you ordered a box, it's coming soon. Don't you worry.
Tracy Vo, 9 News.
While we are sweltering through a record hot start to December, here in WA, the weather on the east coast has been uncharacteristic for summer. Parts of Victoria experiencing a bitter cold snap with snow falling in the Great Dividing Range, while a storm halted play on the first day of the Ashes in Brisbane. New South Wales also copping some wet weather as well. Next, an alleged arsonist's early morning rampage. Sparks fly at a South Perth supermarket, leaving a hefty damage bill. Plus, the staggering amount Perth property prices are tipped to jump next year. Our first look inside Fremantle's newest waterfront draw card, but when will it open? And later, Australia's newest airline reveals its budget prices. A 38-year-old man has been charged over an early morning arson rampage in South Perth. A 24-hour supermarket was left with a $100,000 damage bill trashed by the alleged firebug.
A grocery store checkout counter display turned into a wall of flames.
Set fire on some plants in here in the IGA.
Sparks fly across the 24-hour supermarket as startled workers dial 000. The chaos erupting inside the Good Grocer IGA in South Perth just after 2 a.m. A man stumbles into Men's Street Arcade and, according to witnesses, begins shouting. Staff say they asked him to leave and that's when he went berserk. In the corner of this CCTV, you can partially see him as he hurls pot plants at employees before setting fire to a flower stand with a lighter.
They have like a kind of dry vegetation there, so obviously that caught very fast.
The man then leaves the arcade, but he's not done, starting another fire at the entrance of a bike shop on his way out.
Everybody trying to chase the person.
Staff have spent the entire day cleaning up the mess. On top of today's loss of profit, the owners have been hit with a damage bill of more than $100,000. Neighbouring businesses today also hurting from the senseless vandalism.
Force us to close for the day. Yeah, we're going to have a little bit of an economic impact in there.
Sarisha Bradley, 9 News.
Perth property prices are tipped to jump again next year by 10%. REAWA says the housing boom is showing no signs of slowing down after this year's 14% growth. 865 properties have gone under the hammer each week so far this year, compared to 680 in 2020. It's predicted sales volumes will hold, putting pressure on house prices over the next 12 months, even if interest rates do rise. Joe Biden has expressed his unwavering support for Ukraine in a direct and straightforward conversation with Vladimir Putin. It's a critical test for the US president as Russian troops gather at the border.
Some technical glitches.
There you go.
Before a clear line from Russia into the belly of the White House.
Good to see you again. We didn't get to see one another at the G20. I hope next time we meet, we do it in person.
President Biden dialing in from the Situation Room for a high-stakes 2-hour call, trying to avoid a major European security crisis as Russian troops mount on the Ukrainian border.
What President Biden did today was lay out very clearly the consequences if he chooses to move.
The White House believes Putin has not yet decided on whether to invade.
President Biden said in the event of military escalation, there'd be harsh economic ramifications, including sanctions targeting Russia's biggest banks.
The US also pledging to deploy military capabilities to its Baltic allies Poland and Romania if security in the region is threatened, actions they did not take 7 years ago when Russia illegally annexed Crimea.
Things we did not do in 2014, we are prepared to do now.
Putin had his own demands, wanting to block the Ukraine from joining NATO, a move the commander-in-chief won't make.
He stands by the proposition that countries should be able to freely choose who they associate with.
The Kremlin's policy advisor says it is hard to expect rapid breakthroughs, but at the same time, the president showed an attitude to continue practical work. But the call's success not hinged on today's words, but future actions. In the United States, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
Moderna's vaccine has been approved for use as a booster by the Therapeutic Goods Administration. Health Minister Greg Hunt says he also expects the vaccine advisory body, ATAGI, to outline by the end of the week how Pfizer should be used for 5 to 11-year-olds. We've been given a first look inside Fremantle's biggest and newest waterfront draw card. The Gage Roads microbrewery at Fremantle Port's A-Shed building is almost complete. The massive hospitality venue is the first part of a major plan to revitalise the area.
We'll be looking at other opportunities to continue to transform this port into a major tourism and economic driver for the state.
Gage Roads Freo is slated to open by the end of January. To Finance Now, and it was a strong day for the share market and the Australian dollar. Business reporter Chris Kohler has more.
Australian companies had a great day. In fact, it was the best session on the share market for 9 weeks. It was strong overall, but particularly big gains were recorded by miners, Wesfarmers and realestate.com. The standout was buy now, pay later company Zip, which has gained almost $1 per share since Monday. And the Australian dollar rose too. Yesterday's hints from the Reserve Bank that interest rates could be on the way up next year is bad for borrowers, but good for the Aussie dollar. It was buying 71 US cents, 63 euro cents and almost 54 British pence.
Next, a boost to WA's firefighting muscle. We take a look at the big gun from the east, dropping in to help a southwest fire threat. Millimetres from disaster, a pedestrian's close call with a bus. Perth's mozzie invasion, a new warning from scientists, and the tricks to keep your home bite-free this summer. And our stars off the screen celebrate surviving the COVID storm. One of the country's biggest air tankers has landed in WA as a high fire risk threatens the state. The water bomber was successfully used to save dozens of properties in widespread fires north of Perth earlier this year.
Our biggest weapon in our firefighting arsenal. Boosting the front line as WA braces for a potentially horrific bushfire season.
They're important to have here. They can save lives and property.
A high fire risk this week leading to the C-130 Hercules being deployed to Busselton from New South Wales.
Those large air tankers are particularly effective at laying retardant lines to prevent the spread of those fires, particularly in difficult terrain where access for crews and earth-moving equipment is particularly challenging.
In less than 3 seconds, the air tanker drops 15,000 litres of retardant, 5 times more than heli attacks. DFS and SES volunteers coordinating a strict operation in our southwest today, COVID presenting a fresh challenge, forcing the New South Wales crew into a COVID bubble while in the state.
We get on average 4,000 bushfires every year, and our sole aim is to keep those bushfires as small as we possibly can.
These aerial tankers critical to saving the Shady Hills estate in January's Wooroloo bushfires.
The fleet of large air tankers can be called upon from a moment's notice from the eastern states. This large air tanker will be in WA until at least Saturday, ready to defend with dangerous fire conditions expected over the next few days.
We hope we don't have to use it, but if we do, it is here.
Michael Stamp, 9 News.
The father of the armourer on the movie Rust says he doesn't believe his daughter will face jail time. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed wasn't on set when her colleague was shot because she was doing 2 jobs for the film.
She'd have rechecked that gun. If there was a live round placed there, she would have found it.
You have confidence that Hannah would have checked that gun one more time had she been in the church?
She knows what to do.
Thelreed is a respected armourer himself and says she was brought up learning all about gun safety. Man has had an extremely close call with a bus after he ran across a pedestrian crossing in Russia. He narrowly avoided being hit when the vehicle stopped just in time. Well, I don't know about stopping, it just kept going, but he was lucky, he just missed it. We're being warned to take extra precautions to avoid mosquito bites this summer. There's been an explosion in insect numbers after a wet lead-up to the season, and warm, humid conditions mean breeding grounds are thriving.
A fine example of summer today in Perth, but it's been a wet and late start to the season. This second year of La Nina bringing with it a second, more brutal wave of mosquitoes.
The La Nina is something that comes every 10 or 11 years and it brings a lot of rainfall. And with rainfall, that brings some Aussies.
The insects favour low-lying and damp regions, especially around our river fringe area where most Ross River carrying mosquitoes tend to breed.
Around those Swan-Canning rivers, there's also Thomson's Lake, the Spectacles. There's a range of other little smaller river systems, streams and things like that can create mosquito breeding problems as well.
In the 12 months to September this year, 776 people have been reported as being infected with Ross River virus, cases for most of that period significantly above the 5-year average. Scientists say rainfall from events including Cyclone Seroja contributed to the spike.
This is a timely reminder for people travelling down south to southwest, particularly long weekends, school holidays and the like. It's quite important just to be aware that there are mosquitoes out there and to take precautions against mosquito bites.
Precautions like avoiding peak mosquito periods around dusk and dawn. Health officials also recommending repellent be used alongside sunscreen this year, and plenty of it.
Put a nice even coat over all exposed areas of skin. A dab here or there or spraying it on the back of your shirt is not going to provide enough protection against mosquito bites.
Ebony Ferranda, 9 News.
Some of the biggest names in Australian entertainment have hit the red carpet for the ACTA Awards. The COVID pandemic shut down film and television production across the globe, but our industry at home has continued to thrive.
A return to the red carpet.
It feels really good, it's comfortable.
When I have to put on the glad rags.
For the stars who've kept us company on the couch.
The last 2 years, it's shown how important something good to watch is. You know, I mean, when you're stuck at home.
Rebel Wilson sneaking in.
Did you manage to get an exemption to get out of quarantine?
As film and television's biggest names celebrated surviving a year that's been tough on screen and off.
And we're still married. I mean, that's, you know, like...
It's a huge achievement.
Double time and a half through COVID.
As COVID shut down productions across the globe, our industry managed to thrive. Foreign companies shifting their projects down under, where our strict border policy had kept the virus relatively at bay. And it's brought in big bucks. Film and television production last financial year worth a record $1.9 billion, of which $1 billion was foreign projects. Nicole Kidman's 9 Perfect Strangers, shot in Byron Bay, Zac Efron in the Outback for his blockbuster Gold. Sydney transformed for Chris Hemsworth's Thor Love and Thunder, and Stan Original's film Nitram, based on the Port Arthur massacre, was filmed in Geelong.
It's a miracle, really, that we've been able to make anything.
Sophie Walsh, 9 News.
Ahead, Australia's newest airline reveals its budget prices. Where will it go and how much will you pay? Plus, Don Bradman's triple century bat goes under the hammer and Santa pays a unique visit to some special kids. But first, Bonnie Rayner is here with Sport. And Bonnie, it's been a dream start to the Ashes for Captain Cummins.
It certainly has, Tomo. A 5-wicket haul for perfect Pat, helping the Aussies hold the upper hand at the Gabba. The Green Machine bags an historic first on a dominant opening day. Flying Fraser, a BBL youngster with a stunning early nomination for Grab of the Summer. And a former skipper flags the defenders waiting in the wings to replace Brad Shepherd. A dream start to the Test captaincy for Pat Cummins, snaring 5 wickets as Australia steamrolled England on the opening day of the Ashes. Joe Root winning the toss and electing to bat, the tourists managing just 147 after the most dramatic of starts to the series.
A special moment as Alex Carey received his baggy green.
Mate, you deserve this. Rest assured you deserve this.
At the same time, another selection shock was brewing, England leaving out Stuart Broad as more than a tinge of green greeted the skippers.
It is a tail.
Well back first. Once the anthems were done, Pat Cummins' first decision as captain was handing Mitch Starc the new ball. Rory Burns, the man sent packing in a moment that set the tone for the opening session. The Aussies with their tails up.
Alex Carey gets his first Test match catch.
That brought Joe Root to the crease, his stay just as short-lived.
Pouch by Warner at first slip. It is a first-day duck for the England captain.
England reeling at 4 for 29 when Ben Stokes was also dismissed. A Joss Butler counter-attack gave the tourists hope of salvaging something from their first dig, but soon he too was out.
Edged and gone.
Cameron Green then snaring his first Test wicket thanks to some Josh Hazlewood handiwork in the deep.
What a catch that is! Hazlewood dives!
And he turned support act again as Captain Cummins wrapped up the innings.
Hazelwood roams down there again, takes another beauty!
The skipper finishing with figures of 5 for 38. From there, no play after tea due to a Brisbane downpour and later bad light. There was no raining on this bloke's parade.
This is a dream start, really. Yeah, it wasn't a bad toss to lose. Bit of a different dynamic, but it was totally manageable.
Ayrton Woolley, 9 News.
Perth Scorchers all-time leading wicket taker AJ Tye is hoping a hidden bat-fixing talent can help his teammates reach new heights this Big Bash season. The Scorchers hitting the road for the entire summer after tonight's season opener at Optus Stadium, Tye taking some extra equipment with him. He's known for his arsenal of change-up deliveries.
Doesn't get enough, he's gone, he doesn't survive AJ Tye.
But AJ Tye's got a different trick up his sleeve.
I've always grown up with the fact that if something breaks, you try and fix it first before you get a new one.
The 34-year-old is making a name for himself as world cricket's bat fixer.
This one here was one of Steve Smith's. This one is Ben Stokes's bat, known as the Hulk, Marcus Stoinis. They tend to reward me if I fix them a couple of bats, they'll give me a cricket bat.
His Willow collection currently stands at 30, and with a few needing work, we stepped into his office.
Got a big sort of crack in the toe, so I'm going to try and repair that. First off, you open it up. I get my glue, which is a shockproof glue. Tries to hold it together, get as much glue in there as I possibly can. It generally takes a couple of hours to set. For it to fully cure, it takes probably about 24 hours. Then comes the fun part. Once we've glued it, we get our big weapons, clamp it shut. There you go. Till the glue dries, 24 hours, and then should be good to go.
The desire to patch up bats stems from superstition.
I just try and fix them for them and get that one more innings, because you never know, it might be the innings that they change a game in.
It worked for Shane Watson at the 2016 T20 World Cup.
It had the tiniest little crack on it, bottom toe. I fixed it up for him. He went out and was our leading run scorer of that tournament by a long way.
Despite the impressive bat collection, AJ Tye isn't commonly known for his run-scoring ability, instead making a name for himself with the ball as the Perth Scorchers' all-time leading wicket-taker.
First ever fiver at Optus Stadium.
Good. We're not the blokes they're hoping to have there! Oh, AJ Tye's got 3!
And he's happy to remain in his fast-bowling lane. In the BBL, Melbourne Renegades youngster Jake Fraser McGurk has gone viral thanks to an incredible catch. The 19-year-old with an early bid for take of the summer with this screamer against the Adelaide Strikers.
Oh, what a catch!
Unbelievable! Fraser McGurk.
Usually I actually have a pretty bad vertical, so I'm actually known for having one of the worst jumps in the Vic program. So to actually take one like that, it's pretty funny.
Air McGurk, as he's now going by, helping the Renegades to a 2-run win. The race to replace retiring defender Brad Shepherd is on, with former Eagles captain Shannon Hurn backing in the younger crop. Hurn admits filling the void will be a challenge, but has faith in a number of players he believes can take their game to the next level.
I mean, Rotham's been coming along, Nelson, Harry Edwards is there, a bit different, but those type of players, Luke Foley coming along.
Josh Rotham considered the front-runner for the role after playing 19 games this year. The Eagles' pre-season continuing today, slugging it out in the searing Perth heat. Tomo, great to get an insight into AJ Tye's bat-fixing factory. Even I think he should stay in his fast-bowling lane, and I'm married to him.
And that's how you got the scoop.
Yes, very lucky.
No, it's a fascinating story. How long has he been doing that for?
Over 6 years. His whole career. He has, Virat Kohli come to him and asked to fix bats, so it's a
great story.
An intriguing habit.
Fantastic. Bonnie, thank you. Next, the new budget airline taking to our skies. How it plans to do things differently, offering $100 fares to holiday hotspots. And Natalia Cooper is in Iluka tonight. And Natalia, one more scorching day before the temperature dips.
Yeah, Tomo, tomorrow we will get to a top of 36 degrees, but come Friday the temperature will dip by more than 10 degrees. I'll have the full forecast and a little Christmas cheer coming up for you very soon.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the biggest stories making news in Perth this evening. Water bombers are battling a bushfire emergency in the Lewin Naturalist National Park as extreme temperatures keep crews on high alert. Perth today hitting 40 degrees. WA's hard border policy has left a family heartbroken, unable to fly to Perth to bring their son's body home to Melbourne. A fight over cheap fuel has spiralled out of control in Kwinana, a passenger pulling a knife on another customer. And strangers and stars from the block have joined forces to transform the home of one-punch victim Danny Hodgson. New budget airline Bonza says 8 aircraft are en route to shake up the market. It's promising Australians the freedom to explore their backyards at a cheaper price.
The pressure is on for Qantas, Jetstar, Virgin and Rex, with a new no-frill upstart flying in.
More routes, more choices and a lot more low fares.
This is all we can show you of the budget airline Bonza, but the CEO assures us work is well underway and 8 aircraft are soon coming into land.
We will help Australia play catch up with the rest of the world, and the rest of the world has shown us that the market exists.
Modelled off of Canada's Flair Airlines, the carrier says they'll offer more flights from A to C without the inconvenience of stopping at B. Instead of targeting the Golden Triangle business route of Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, their focus will be on leisure, places like the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast and Tasmania, for the average fare of $100 or less.
With 8 aircraft, they can make a big enough dent in the market that it's actually quite hard for a major airline like Qantas to be responding to every one of them.
Qantas, Virgin, Rex, we haven't been asleep at the wheel for the last 10 years. You know, we think we know the market.
Are we going to be competitive to defend our turf, as it were, and making sure that we offer the most competitive product and service and airfares? Of course we are.
So when will the airline be up there? Well, Bonza says we'll hear more about finalised routes and prices early next year, before it's wheels up between April and June. But it could be a bumpy takeoff, with clearance from the regulators yet to be approved. Early Walsh, 9 News.
There's a chance a piece of cricket history could go into hiding. It's the bat Sir Donald Bradman scored 304 at Headingley on the 1934 Ashes Tour. On loan to the Bradman Museum in New South Wales, its owner has now put it up for auction. Bidding has already started, and at this stage it's at $104,000. It's feared the buyer will take his bat and go home, literally. Sick kids have been treated to an early surprise this holiday season at Queensland's Children's Hospital. Santa taking time out of his busy schedule with a virtual appearance from his home in the North Pole. The boys and girls had the opportunity to share their wish list for Christmas this year. Here's hoping Santa was paying special attention. Stay with us. Natalia Cooper is back with all of your weather details live from the Christmas lights in Iluka right after this break.
Good evening. Tonight, the Synergy Christmas Lights Trail has taken us to Iluka, and this beautiful display was set up by the Synergy Elves as a thank you to homeowner Jackie. She's a very deserving winner of the Nominate Your Neighbour campaign for her tireless work as a foster carer, a respite carer and a special needs teaching assistant. Well, it was certainly hot today. In fact, our hottest day since January, topping out at 40 degrees at 3:45 this afternoon. A light sea breeze is in over coastal suburbs, but right now it's still sitting on 36.1. It was a mostly sunny day, but late this afternoon a brief shower hit the southern suburbs, bringing 0.5 millimetre of rain to Jandakot. Tomorrow will be hot again due to a high in the Bight and a trough down the coast, but the trough will move inland during the day, bringing a cooler change. Around the nation tomorrow, more storms for Brisbane and more heavy rain for Sydney and Canberra. Around the state, Marble Bar hit 45 today and it's going for 44 degrees tomorrow, but with a shower or two. Port Hedland is looking at a top of 42. Further south, Northam going for 40 degrees and Augusta will peak at a max of 35. On the waters, northeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, becoming west to southwest in the afternoon and easing in the evening. So prepare for another warm night. 24 is as low as the temperature will go. Tomorrow will be mostly sunny and hot once again, 36 the top. Coastal suburbs are set to be a few degrees cooler. Looking ahead, some proper relief from the heat. That'll come on Friday, 25 degrees. 25 again on Saturday, 27 on Sunday. Briefly warming up on Monday before it cools back into the low 20s. So one more hot day to go before the weather is a little more pleasant. And you know what's really pleasant? Jackie over there and her Christmas lights. What a legend, Tomo.
Absolute legend. The lights look fantastic. Natalia, thank you. That is 9 News for this Wednesday. Thanks for your company. A current affair is next. Enjoy your evening. Good night.